nobody tells you this part. Nobody warns you that the thing that ends your career isn't a bad show or a flopped special or a beef you picked with the wrong person. Sometimes it's just your wife starting a podcast. That's what happened to Akaash Singh, and it's been 5 months now. 5 months of watching this thing unfold in slow motion on every comment section, every Reddit thread, every tweet, every corner of the internet that covers comedy podcasts. And somehow it keeps getting worse.
Do you and your husband split finances?
We don't. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
That clip right there, that was the thing that started it. October 2025. Jasleen hops on her own podcast, Main Character, which she co-hosts with her friend Nihal, and just casually explains to the world how their finances work. His money is their money. Her money is her money. This is not a two-way street. She said that out loud on a recorded podcast, while being married to a comedian with a fan base of millions of people who were already paying close attention to everything she was putting out. And from that one clip, the whole thing spiraled into something nobody involved could have predicted. Let's back up for a second, because if you're new to this, you need to understand what Akaash's whole thing was. Akaash Singh co-hosts Flagrant with Andrew Schultz, 2 million subscribers on YouTube, weekly episodes, Patreon, touring. His comedy special Gaslit hit 6 million views. He had a real career going, legitimate, earned. He built that from genuinely nothing. He was making $25 a day doing MTV stand-up shows when he first met Jasleen in 2014. And the other thing, the thing that Akaash had woven into his identity for years, was this narrative about his wife, the purity narrative. He would talk openly about how she'd been a virgin when they met, how that mattered to him, how proud he was of that. It was part of how he presented his marriage, part of his public image.
Wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this, do you believe her?
He said it clearly, multiple times, over multiple years, on a podcast with millions of listeners. So when Jasleen got on her own show and started telling stories about the frat houses, the roster of guys she was rotating through, popping her pussy in the college years, that wasn't just an awkward overshare. That was a direct public contradiction of the story her husband had been telling everyone for years.
Popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So it's like...
That clip went everywhere, not just through Flagrant's audience, everywhere. And the reason it moved so fast wasn't just the content, it was the context. Because the second you connect what she said there to what Akaash had been saying for years, the whole thing becomes something much bigger than one podcast clip. This is where Myron Gaines shows up, and here's the complicated part of this story. Gaines, who runs the Fresh and Fit podcast, had a beef with Akaash going back to 2022. Akaash and Andrew Schultz had Gaines on Flagrant and essentially called him out on camera, called his content corny, said it wasn't helping men, publicly embarrassed him on his own platform visit. So when Jasleen's clips started circulating in November 2025, Gaines posted his tweet, reached 1 million views. Your wife swore she was a virgin. Married simps keep proving us right.
Finally, this is Myron's last post. Your wife swore she was a virgin. Laughing emoji. Married simps like you and Andrew keep proving us right 3 years after your weak-ass woman lecture on your trash podcast. 3 things always come out: the sun, the moon.
And look, the fact that Myron Gaines was the one to break the story is genuinely unfortunate for Jasleen, because it gave her the perfect excuse. She could now say it was a coordinated attack from misogynists and red pill podcasters who hate opinionated women, which let her sidestep the actual substance of what she'd said entirely. But here's the thing. Gaines didn't make those clips. He just found them. Everything she said was on her own podcast, her own platform, her own words. The December 3rd Flagrant episode was supposed to be damage control. Jasleen came on. They addressed it. Schultz made jokes, called her a hedge fund manager, called Akaash a Bitcoin. The internet was not particularly amused.
Do you consider yourself a good gold digger?
Yeah. Because I invested low and waited for it to go high.
You're a gold prospect.
Yeah.
That's not a gold digger.
Because here's the thing with damage control. It only works if the person doing it looks even a little bit sorry. Jasleen didn't look sorry. She doubled down. She explained that she was joking. Then she said actually no, she was being real about who she is. Then she talked about how spiritually grounded she is and how God knows her heart, all within the same appearance. The mental gymnastics on display were genuinely impressive, and throughout all of it, Akaash sat there and defended her, called her courageous, said the people criticizing her don't really know her, pointed out that she's always on their couch, she doesn't go anywhere without him, he has her location. which, as proof of a healthy marriage, is a little worrying if you think about it too hard.
I don't give a what you say. She can give a what I say. I have her location. She has my location. Every time if you look at 90% of her TikToks, they're on our couch. Like, she don't go nowhere without me. So I'm like, whatever you say. I don't care. I know you.
That interview, that's the one that told you everything you needed to know about where he actually is mentally, because he's doing what comedians do when something genuinely gets to them. He's smiling through it, making jokes about it, wrapping the pain in confidence. But then he says it, the thing that gives it away completely. He says that's how he found out he was famous. When the whole world called his wife a something he won't repeat, that's when he realized he'd made it. That's the cope of a man who has run completely out of alternatives. Here's what actually happened to his career, though. Not the drama, not the clips, not Myron Gaines. The actual mechanics of how this broke things. Akaash hasn't done a regular Flagrant episode since Christmas, his last appearance on the show. And yes, he's on the Generational Triumph Tour. Australia, New Zealand, UK, US cities. The tour is real, it's happening. But nearly every other comedian with a weekly podcast is also on the road. Schultz himself tours constantly. The two things are not mutually exclusive. Podcasting is one of the most low overhead formats that exists. The real reason the dynamic at Flagrant is broken isn't the tour. It's that the show runs on honest conversation, real reactions, genuine chemistry. And you simply cannot have that when there's a subject this enormous sitting in the middle of the room that nobody can touch.
Hey, man. But once you get into the multi-syllabic, bro, you get fucked up. You do get fucked up.
That was fire, what you just said.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was watching.
You can't roast your co-host's marriage when his wife just exposed him to the internet. That material is permanently radioactive now. Schultz is too smart to go near it. Alex and Mark aren't going near it, which means the entire show has to operate around a crater. That's not a format. That's a minefield. And Jasleen keeps digging. She went on her podcast a month after the Flagrant damage control episode and blamed the whole backlash on Akaash's fans, called them racist, called them right-wing, said they just don't like opinionated brown women.
We'll see more of the podcast fan base. And I know a lot of people during like our controversy were saying like, oh, it's because of his fans. It's because of his fans. Like, his comedy fans are not like that. It's more the podcast fan base that I don't think really resonate with him, because a lot of them are like really racist and right wing. I think like those of them are more like that. But yeah, anyways, I said like those peripheral fans, like they might come at us just because we're brown girls being opinionated and they don't like opinionated women.
The thing about that take is that it completely ignores who was actually criticizing her. It wasn't just Flagrant fans, it was female Indian influencers who said publicly they don't claim her. It was women across platforms who were not particularly interested in misogyny as an explanation. It was basically the entire internet for about 2 weeks running the same joke. This was not a coordinated attack. It was a consensus. And when you can get that many different people, men, women, Indian, non-Indian, left, right, podcast fans who've never heard of Flagrant, all agreeing on the same thing at the same time, that's not a target on your back. That's the public responding to something they actually all watched and formed the same opinion about. Akaash's real problem is simpler than any of this, and it's the same problem a lot of people in his position end up with. He built a public image on honesty. That was the whole pitch. Flagrant, unfiltered, real talk, no political correctness. And the most important version of that honesty for Akaash personally was the narrative about his marriage, the story he told about his wife, about who she was when he met her, about what their relationship was built on.
And didn't go anywhere and stayed right by my side. I think the jokes don't bother me because it's like, when you're broke as fuck, you see exactly who a person really is. Like, I've seen her at her core, good, bad, all of it. So I know who she is enough that none of these things are I'm ever gonna take seriously, because I've seen her, we've been at the absolute bottom. She's seen me at my absolute worst. So if I make these jokes, if I call her a bitch or whatever, she's like, I know this. Like, at our absolute worst, we still loved each other. We still stayed by each other's side. So I think that's what.
When Jasleen went on her show and told a different version of that story, casually, without any apparent awareness of what she was undoing, she didn't just embarrass him. She invalidated years of the character he'd been building in front of his audience. And the audience that was watching felt something specific in response. Not just judgment of Jasleen, a reconsideration of Akaash. Who is this guy if that story isn't true? What else is the act? That's the damage that doesn't repair itself. She then addressed the virgin question directly on her podcast, said she was a virgin when they met, said the biology of what she described was compatible with that, said she was just an oversharer who told true stories about her life.
When it's like, but the reality is what the reality is. It's like, I was a virgin when I met my husband. We lost our virginity to each other. And I never made that a part of my identity. I only shared that because I share my life story because I'm an oversharer. Y'all made it a part of my identity and then used it against me. I don't give a if I was a virgin or I wasn't, or if my body count was 100.
Look, people can decide what they believe. That's between them. What you can't ignore is the discomfort visible in the delivery of that explanation, the stumbling, the "it doesn't even matter if I was a virgin or not" framing, which, sure, it doesn't, except that her husband specifically made it matter on a podcast with 2 million subscribers. That's the part she can't walk back. You don't get to build a story on something and then say the thing doesn't matter when the story falls apart. The most honest read on where things stand right now is this. Akaash is on tour. The tour is doing well. Australia, New Zealand, major US cities. The Gaslit special has 6 million views. His career outside Flagrant is genuinely fine. Stand-up is stand-up, and he's built that independently. But Flagrant is where his most valuable brand equity lived. The chemistry with Schultz, the audience who spent years watching them build something together. That's the piece that's been damaged. And it's been damaged specifically because the dynamic that made it work, the realness, the chemistry, the willingness to say anything, now has a huge thing it can't say.
Did you take that hard from the bodies exhibit? Yo, this is the first time he sounded Asian, right?
Hold on, play it again.
We need to go to what he sounded like before when he had when they had the black heart and black lip.
And Jasleen, for her part, seems genuinely unbothered. She's still posting, still podcasting. The main character show is still going. She told her podcast audience that God knows who she is, she knows who she is, and everyone else can mind their business, which is a very peaceful way to feel. But it is also, you have to admit, a very convenient way to feel when you've created a situation for someone else.
I'm gonna ask you, because you seem a little meaner than him, what's your favorite thing about being married? Oh, clearing your throat, got no fucking answer. Can you imagine if he cleared his throat when I asked, you would never let him hear the end of it. You'd be yelling at him as soon as he got in the car. Okay, your favorite thing about being married. I just bought you a lot of time, what is it? God, she still got nothing, dude! You hold that over her head for the rest of her fucking life. Don't pat her on the shoulder, she don't care about you.
He's turning it into stand-up now, which, of course he is. That's what comics do with pain that has nowhere else to go. You put it in the set, you get the laugh, you get to feel like you're in control of the story for 45 minutes. And then the show ends, the comments are still there, and the Flagrant dynamic is still broken, and none of the underlying stuff has changed. The tour is called the Generational Triumph Tour, which is either extremely confident or extremely hopeful depending on how you read it.